So I wanted to take a moment to talk about the relationship between wrestling and jiu-jitsu here. I think that it's a foregone conclusion that most jiu-jitsu players would say that they would benefit from taking a wrestling class. I think if you talk to any person that trains jiu-jitsu, they'd be like, heck yeah, I'll take a class. And I'm going to get better in my takedowns and shot defense and what have you, and then tie it into my attacks. But if you ask the same of wrestlers or wrestling coaches, you're not going to get the same answer. And I think the reason for that is because the benefits that you get from jujitsu aren't as obvious as those that come from wrestling. And that's what I want to talk about right here. Having spent the last 10 plus years or splitting my time between a wrestling room and a jujitsu room and constantly seeing people roll in both sports and going to major tournaments and whatnot, um, the more similarities I actually see. And I know there's more and more cross pollination going on right now, but I don't think the benefits of jujitsu are as obvious to wrestlers. And I think it's something they should absolutely be taking a look at in the off season for a number of reasons that goes beyond this video. So to set the stage for this, the red and white singlet just came back from this is the national tournament right here that took place in Salt Lake City, Utah, about a week ago. The red and white singlet had previously wrestled in another national tournament in Tulsa where he took fourth. And when he faced the number one seed, he got into a butterfly position and tried to sweep the number one seed and did so almost, but wasn't able to finish the sweep, came out of it and gave up 2 points and ended up losing a close match. When we came home from that tournament, I had red and white singlet work with our black belt, Mark Kamazaki, who's a Casio Wernick black belt in the Sacramento area. And we worked on these positions. We worked on positions that wrestlers typically get in matches in a scramble. And Mark's becoming more and more familiar with wrestling, and I said, hey, we only have moments in these positions, but what can we do from here? So that's setting the stage. Now, one more thing, the black singlet, and the reason I think this is a good video to present this in, this is a state champion. So he's a Colorado state champion who red and white singlet is going against. So this guy is no chump. He's also, as you'll see, he's also a good scrambler, but he's good at scrambles and is no stranger to that. But what happens in the first minute of this match actually sets the tone for the match. So here we go. Start off in typical fashion, squaring up. But right away, red and white singlet's looking for a shot. So he's doing so with a drag. You see his right arm shoot up into the armpit. He's got wrist control with his left hand. He tries to step to the outside and circle to that leg, but black singlet is savvy to it. As you know, an arm drag is a neutral position, meaning the counter to an arm drag is an arm drag, and that's essentially what the black singlet does here, is he basically just drops to that outside leg. In fact, he doesn't even need to get the drag position because he just drops to that outside leg. And what the black singlet does that is brilliant here is he also windshield wipes his right foot underneath him, so by the time the red and white singlet steps around, it's not there, and black actually does have the leg. They go to stand, he goes to do what any wrestler would do in this situation. The black singlet steps up and starts driving into the red and white singlet. Now, under normal circumstances here, the guy on the bottom, red and white singlet, he's bailing, he's going to his belly, he's giving up the 2 points. And if he does anything different, he'll probably have coaches yelling at him saying, hey, you need to belly out and get out of this position. But again, this is something we've been working on. So note that the red and white singlet does still have the arm drag position. Okay, so he is getting taken down. Referee has not awarded 2 yet, as you can see, and he's not even really close to it yet. But he keeps that arm drag position. And what happens here is the first sequence, which is really important. Boom. Red and white singlet reaches up and grabs the far side armpit. Okay. He also plants his outside foot, okay? If you go to YouTube right now and you type in Gordon Ryan back take from arm drag, you'll see Gordon Ryan teach this position for no gi. And this is one of the things that he talks about, is that, we gotta try to drag this elbow to the ground right here. Red and white singlet has to get to his side and then get to his own elbow, and you'll see that happen here. The next thing that the red and white singlet has to do is he has to get to his side, and the way he does that is he's going to hip escape. So he's got the left foot planted, brings his hips out, and that allows him to get to his side. Okay. Next thing you'll see, note that he's still keeping that far armpit grip very tight. Red and white singlet is trying to get to his right elbow, which he does right here. Okay. So now he's established some very important positions. He's got a strong grip on that right, on the far side armpit. He's gotten to his elbow. And all he really has to do right now is prevent his opponent's right arm from slipping out. So as long as he's heavy on the back of his opponent, he's either going to take his back or he's going to maintain an advantageous position here, or at very worst, he's going to get they're going to get a neutral or they're going to be stood up here. Basically, no points for either opponent, and they stand back up here and they get back to wrestling. But this is a live scramble here, and let's watch what happens. Black singlet right here is reaching. He's reaching for something. So he's probably thinking half Nelson here. He probably wants to get that head and smash it down to the ground. He's probably reaching for that far side wrist to pull it out or do something, something so he can get his head up. Red and white singlet savvy to this and making sure he's staying out on his side. But what happens right here, Black makes a decision to drive into the red and white singlet, which sort of puts red and white singlet in an advantageous position. He's basically baiting him to do this. Once Black singlet drives into him, it puts red and white singlet in a position where all he has to do is roll through and sweep him right over. Now, the only mistake that red and white singlet does right here is he doesn't hip heist and bring his left leg out. He has a moment right here where he needed to let go of his left arm, but it almost seems like his left arm is trapped underneath, hip heist out, and he'll come right up into a mount position, and it'll be a 5-point play. So basically, he'll get us what we refer to in Jiu Jitsu as a sweep. In this case, it would be considered a takedown with near fall and a 5-point play. Black singlet does a good job here, starts turning right back into the red and white singlet and does a good job and catches that leg. Okay, red and white singlet's not giving it up, pops out, hips away from him, and gets into like a modified Z guard here. Okay, so we've gone from an open guard back take attempt to a sweep, and now we're in a modified Z guard right here. Now, something happens here that's really important to point out once again is that red and white singlet glues his right arm to his body right here. And that's really important to note because if Black comes up here and just pops his head up and grabs hold of red and white's head, he's going to score 2 points here. But because of what happens next, the referee does not award the 2 points. And in fact, it goes back to a very neutral position here where red singlet gets his underhook right there. Once he gets that underhook, note he's going straight to a butterfly, okay? So he's trying to hook that ankle to the inside of the knee. He wasn't able to flare his knee out here like he would in a standard butterfly sweep, something that he's been working on with Mark Kamazaki, but he does post his far left hand out, so he gets into a good butterfly style position here. Black singlet, as you notice, is reaching down and grabbing that ankle. So it's probably preventing red and white singlet from flaring his right knee out. But the interesting thing here is Black singlet is not pushing in too much to the red and white singlet. And I think the reason for that is because he feels that there's probably a sweep coming here. Okay? So when red and white singlet on the bottom feels that there's no pressure, he actually windshield wipes his lower left leg, pops up, taps the far side knee, and then just drives up. And basically, he's just going to take this, drive into him, circle around, and try to hop over. And so once he drives over the top of him, pops to the other side, Black singlet now is reaching for the funk roll. Red singlet savvy to that and keeps circling. Eventually, we're basically in a side control. Again, another similar style jiu-jitsu position, only red and white is on top now. Once red and white lifts his knees here, that's when black singlet realizes the jig is up, and he bellies out, and there's your 2 points. Okay, so what we're seeing here is a pretty mad scramble that happened at the beginning of a match. Two pretty darn good wrestlers. One of them, like I said, is the black singlet. It's the state champ from Colorado. Red and white singlet's a fairly accomplished jiu-jitsu kid that started out in jiu-jitsu as a young boy, and then eventually migrated over to wrestling, and now he's basically a full-time wrestler, but he still trains jiu-jitsu in the off season. And the positions we worked on with our black belt actually benefited him in this match. This scramble ended up being huge, so all that work was only 2 points, but red and white eventually ended up winning this 7-3 against a high-level competitor. And there you go. Like I said, it's not as obvious the benefits that you get from jujitsu, but they are certainly there. And I welcome any comments and any questions here. And thanks again to our instructor, Mark Kamazaki, who is a black belt under Cassio Wernick. Thank you.